In this section, we are going to work on the topic of what happens to your heart when it breaks into several pieces, which, as you already know, is one of the diseases that your heart suffers when it faces some type of emotional trauma, especially in the romantic sphere. Generally, you face situations of this type at times when your partner breaks up with you or when you find out that he is cheating on you. Many of my clients tell me that they feel in their chest as if everything in that part of their body was breaking into a dozen of pieces. Because deep down, it is your psyche that is cracking due to the impression you are receiving. This break in your heart occurs largely because the traumatic experience you suffer leads you to doubt who you are and, above all, your value. If you were in a relationship where you believed your partner truly loved you, or in a relationship where your partner made you feel valuable, and he always gave you positive comments about how great you were, and suddenly you find that that same partner does not give you the value that he always gave you, or makes you feel much less important than you thought you were until before the trauma occurred, it is precisely what leads you to experience that feeling in which everything that is in your chest cracks. Now, a disease of this type brings a series of associated problems. First of all, your psychic heart, which usually has a specific unit, is separated into a series of parts, with which the following problem occurs. You do not know which part of your psychic heart to follow. If you think about it, when a person has a heart in a balanced and complete state, when he has not experienced any trauma of this type, he knows very well what he wants. He knows what decisions to make, because you can follow what your heart tells you. And this in turn causes the sensations that your psychic heart generates in your body to alter, and therefore the emotions and thoughts that derive from them, because each part of your psychic heart has influence on some specific aspects of your psyche. Therefore, if you previously dealt with a thought that was conflicting, when you suffer from a broken heart, you begin to experience thousands of thoughts and emotions that become toxic to you. If you look closely, there is the explanation why people who suffer a trauma of this type begin to generate obsessive thoughts, from which they cannot dissociate, with the consequence that you are going to begin to lose focus of your life and what you want for yourself. That is why many people who consult me, who come for a case of a broken heart, spend years before reaching me, in which they do not know which path to follow, precisely because they have too many thought nuclei. What is the problem with everything I have told you here? That if you do not fix your psychic heart to some treatment, the pieces into which your original heart broke will become increasingly greater in number. It's going to increase the amount of bits you have to deal with. And with this, the pain that you are experiencing at the moment when your heartbreak occurs will increase. And this is going to happen because each piece that was originally broken is going to break and generate more pieces, and therefore a greater number of negative sensations, emotions, thoughts, and sources of suffering, which are going to make you lose control, focus to a greater extent as the years go by, which in turn will cause your heart to eventually turn into greed and nothing will be stable in your psychic system. So you can see why, unless you treat the effects of a broken heart, you are going to spend many years, at least 10, that is the general average that my clients face, in which you will not have stability in your life. Given this entire framework of reference, What is the solution? Faced with the problem of this type, ideally, as soon as you suffer from a trauma of this type, you can learn to recognize the initial pieces that have been generated from the breaking of your heart. I usually do this very quickly during the consultation. The idea of a treatment like this is that you can take the pieces into which your heart was separated and put them together before they continue to break, with which it will be much easier to weld them on a psychic level. Once we have done this, the idea is that we can polish your heart so that you can recover the image you have of yourself, that which has been lost because of what you experienced, with which your psychic heart will recover the original form and functioning that it had before the trauma occurred. The idea here is that you can recognize what type of trauma you are suffering when you experience a situation that causes emotional instability in you. If at one point you realize that your heart has broken into several parts, you have already achieved the main objective of this section. On that basis, if you can keep the pieces that were broken, that will allow you to recover much more quickly than if you did it without being aware of this process. Everything that has to do with this procedure, which I am talking to you about here, we are going to see in the part of the module in which I am going to talk specifically about the way in which you can heal your heart. For now, let's continue helping you recognize the illnesses you experience. See you in the next section.